It's my pleasure to introduce Eugene Oltz to the stage.
Thanks a lot, Peter, and thank you all. I'm 2 months old in terms of being a part of your Buckeye family, and I'm truly honored to be a part of it. But that's not why I'm here tonight. Tonight, I'm here to tell you why I'm so excited to be an immunologist. And it's not just because the science is so cool, which it is, but it's because immunology research is really revolutionizing the way we treat almost every human disease. And my journey to immunology was a bit windy. My first passion was chemistry. And like most scientists, I was inspired by a wonderful high school teacher. He let us stay after school every once in a while to do these great experiments, most of which involved controlled explosions. But you know, hey, we survived. I went on to do my PhD in organic chemistry. And during that time, I had to present a research seminar on a topic that was far afield from my own research. And I chose a topic in immunology, and that was it. I ghosted the flasks and the test tubes to turn to the love of my scientific life, how our immune system is our most natural defense against microorganisms and human diseases. So I'm going to tell you about why all of us should get so excited about what's going on in immunology today. But first, I'm going to start with a question. How many of you here feel like you're constantly being bombarded? Now, I'm not just talking about the 24-hour barrage of news and information, but more about invaders we can't see. As the quote behind me highlights, we're under a constant onslaught from the outside world. Viruses, bacteria, toxins. But we're also being attacked from within. Precancerous cells pop up in our bodies all the time. And it's really our immune system that serves as our external and our internal shield to protect us from all of these invaders. Now, in fact, when I was getting ready for that pivotal immunology seminar in graduate school, as Peter already alluded to, I had many fond memories of a made-for-TV movie called The Boy in the Plastic Bubble. And besides being a somewhat gratuitous John Travolta vehicle, which it was, it really brought home the concept of how important our immune system is. It allows us to survive in this harsh world. But alas, like all defense systems, immunity comes with a cost, and misuse or overuse of these defenses can not only destroy these nasty invaders, but also our normal cells, and that's what happens in autoimmunity and chronic inflammation. So, with that in mind, let me ask you a couple more questions. How many of you here suffer from allergies? Okay, how many of you, keep your hands up, how many of you have or know someone who has arthritis? How about cancer? Do you know someone with cancer or Alzheimer's? So what you might not have known is that all of us know someone who has a disease that arises from an immune system challenge. All of these diseases are immune system challenges. So one more question. These treatments that are flashing behind me on the screen, how many of them would you consider to be natural? None of them, right? They might be effective, but they're not natural. And that's what's so exciting about being an immunologist today. We're learning enough about how the immune system works that we can use it as our most natural therapeutic. We're learning how to unleash the yang to destroy cancer or harness the yin or rein in the yin to treat these immune-based diseases. So, what are the basics of how the immune system works? I like to compare it to a game of chess. The immune system is also composed of a number of different pieces. We call them cells. And like chess pieces, each of these cell types has a different role in the immune response. And these cells are constantly patrolling our bodies. They're eyeing all of the various pieces that they encounter to determine whether they're harmless, like our own cells or our microbiome, or whether they're harmful, like virally infected cells or cancer. And when the immune system does sense danger, it sends out all of these signals to recruit other pieces of the immune system to destroy the invading pathogen. And in the case of cancer and viral infections, these pieces, the important pieces, are called T cells, or the ominously named natural killer cells. But unlike in a game of chess, once the invader has been destroyed, the immune system has to back off. Otherwise, it will start damaging the surrounding tissue. And so these immune cells have developed all sorts of mechanisms that you might as well consider as being brakes. It stops their response. But like in life, many of the opponents that are faced by our immune system are wilier than others. And virus and cancers have all strategized to evade these braking systems, or to put the brakes on our immune cells and stop them from attacking. And in fact, that's what's so exciting about this new generation of immunotherapies. They're designed to take the brakes off. The cancer cells put the brakes on, these immunotherapies take the brakes off. And that unleashes the immune cells to do their job and destroy the tumor. Now, on the completely opposite end of the spectrum, sometimes these brakes fail. Like when an invader is finally eliminated, if the brakes fail, the immune cells keep on going and can destroy the surrounding tissue, like I said. And that leads to autoimmunities like IBD and arthritis, or chronic inflammation that's associated with Alzheimer's and heart diseases. So in this case, we have to rein in the yin part of our immune system, and that's accomplished through a new generation of what we call biologics. And these are the subjects of those very slickly produced commercials that all of us see during the Ohio State football games. Now, most of these biologics are antibodies, which are naturally produced by immune cells called B cells. But as scientists, what we can do is repurpose these antibodies to act as traps and soak up this damage signals to curb all of these damaging responses. So, we're learning to rein in the yin to treat autoimmunity and inflammation, and to unleash the yang to destroy cancer and viral infections. And ongoing work at Ohio State, along with new investments, is going to poise us to innovate new types of immune-based therapeutics. Which brings me to my own research. I don't do research on robots, but we consider all these flavors of immune cells not just to be chess pieces, but more like robots, each of which have their individual tasks to perform. And like robots, they all have an underlying circuitry that gives them their identities. So for immune cells, the circuitry is not electronic. Instead, it relies on the patterns of genes that they express. And that gives them their signature functions. So what we want to know is how to turn on large panels of genes that have closely related functions. So with the ultimate goal of taking cells from a patient and flipping some of these so-called master switches so that we can re-engineer the patterns of genes that they express so they'll become much more effective cellular therapeutics when we put them back into the patients. So what do I mean by these master switches? So we've uncovered in the past few years switches that can turn on whole cohorts of genes that are involved in finding a tumor, wherever it might be hiding. Or other master switches that can help these cellular therapeutics destroy the tumor better and avoid those braking systems. And still other switches that allow these therapeutics to survive for longer periods of time when put back into the patient. And they can keep on constant guard for a reemergence of the cancer. So, I hope I've convinced you. It's truly an exciting time to be an immunologist. We're seeing decades of basic research begin to pay off. And in fact, as one of my clinical colleagues just told me, up until a couple of years ago, if a patient was diagnosed with almost any type of cancer, his main advice to that patient was to get their affairs in order. But now, with the advances of immunotherapy, there's a much more optimistic conversation. Many times life can be extended without this harsh regimen of chemo or radiation. And sometimes even a cancer-free existence can be achieved. But a lot of work remains. These immunotherapies are great, but they only work on some people and some cancers, but not on others. So it's our challenge to figure out what's behind these discordant responses. And we can do this through collaborations between basic and clinical researchers. And in fact, that's one of the major missions of the Wexner leadership, is to enhance basic and translational research in immunology. And it's not just for my department that I lead, but also our new Institute for Immuno-Oncology. And so hopefully, as we move forward, this is why we're here today, to support the initiatives, these bold initiatives, that's going to put us at the forefront of this medical revolution, using our immune system as the most natural of treatments for many of the diseases we face. A natural treatment to destroy cancer, to treat arthritis, and to prevent infectious disease. So thanks for listening. I hope all of you followed that, and of course, thank you for your support.